My name is Nupur Gupta and I am a committer on the Eclipse JDT UI project. In today's session, I will share with you some invaluable tips and tricks which will allow you to better use the Eclipse IDE and will help you in being more productive in your routine development tasks. So we know that Eclipse provides a lot of powerful features and capabilities, and with so much functionality at our disposal, it becomes quite difficult to utilize the full potential of the IDE. Right? And in order to be more productive, mastering your IDE is as important as mastering your source code. And once you master your Eclipse IDE, I'm sure you're going to enjoy working with the Eclipse IDE more than you would have ever expected. For the demo, I'll be covering various areas from organization to navigation, coding and debugging in Eclipse. And I'll show you how you can make your experience with Java 8 more convenient and pleasant in Eclipse by using some of the new tooling features which we have provided as part of the Java 8 support. And towards the end, if time permits, I'll show you some of my favorite keyboard shortcuts. During the demo, you can ask me any question that you have, and you need not wait till the end. And please feel free to interrupt me during the session if you feel that I'm going too fast. Okay, so let's begin with some of the organization tips first. So most of us work with a lot of Eclipse workspaces. Like for example, I have one Eclipse workspace for the master branch, one for the maintenance and one for the Java 9 branch. So what I usually do is I create these Eclipse shortcuts on my desktop or some other place, and in the shortcuts properties, I use the -data parameter, and using this I can specify the default workspace location for this particular shortcut. So now when I double click on any of these shortcuts, it directly launches the Eclipse IDE with the workspace location that I have specified here. So this saves me some time because now I directly have the shortcuts for the workspaces that I usually work with. When there are a lot of Eclipse workspaces open at the same time with different Eclipse instances, it becomes quite difficult to identify that which window belongs to which workspace. Right? So in order to identify a workspace, you can go to the window preferences. Under general, in the workspace preferences, here you can specify a name for your workspace, and that name will be shown in the window title. Like you can see, it is being shown here. You can also choose to show the workspace path in the window title by checking on this checkbox, and when I apply, you can see that the path is also being displayed into the window title. So this makes it quite easy to identify a particular workspace out of the many workspaces which might be open at the same time. Now moving on to some packages. So here you can see I have certain packages, and all of these have a common prefix, that is Eclipse JDT. So in order to save some screen space and in order to increase the readability, you can abbreviate these package names. So for that you can go to the preferences. Under Java appearance, you have this checkbox which says abbreviate package names. You can select that, and here you can provide your own rules for abbreviation. For example, here I want org Eclipse JDT to be called as JDT, and when I click on apply, you can see that the package names in the package explorer have been abbreviated as per my rule, and this will also be available in other UI places like the search view, type hierarchy view, and certain other areas. The next is like when you are starting with a fresh installation of Eclipse, sometimes you may want to install all the plugins which were already installed in your existing Eclipse installation. So for that, in your new installation, you can go to File, Import. Under Install, you have this installation, this option to import from existing installation. Once you click that, you can specify the location of your existing Eclipse installation, and it will list all the software items or the plugins which are present in that, and you can choose which ones you want to install in your new Eclipse installation. And if you want to share these details across developers, so in your Eclipse, you can go to Export, and here you can choose to export the installed software items to a file. So once you give a file name and a file location, and you select the ones which you want to export, this will export a list of all the software items along with their repositories to a local file system, and then this file can be shared across the developers, and they can go to File, Import. Under install, they can select install software items from file, and here you have to specify the file location which was generated in the previous step, and you can choose to install the software items from that particular file. So this was something about the organization. Now moving on to some navigation tips. So navigation in Eclipse is mainly based on keyboard shortcuts and key bindings, and the most important one is the Control 3, which is the quick access shortcut. So this is like whatever comes to your mind, you can just start typing by after pressing Control 3, and you will see the result from various different categories of the UI elements. So I'm sure most of you would already be aware of this keyboard shortcut, so I'll just skip to the next one, which is Control O. That is the quick outline. So in Java editor, when you press Control O, it lists all the structural elements of that file, and you can quickly filter these and navigate to the one in which you are interested. Now say there is a type which I am using at my current working location like this, and I want to see the quick outline of this particular type. So usually what we do is we press F3, which takes us to that particular file, and then we press Control O. So instead of that being in the same editor, just place your caret on the type and press Control F3. So as you can see, it will give you an in-place outline of that particular type which is at your current caret location. And similar to Control O, if you press Control F3 twice, it will show you the inherited members as well. Now moving on to some hover examples. So here consider this identifier list, and you can see that I have a warning on this identifier list, and if I hover on this, usually I expect to see the Java doc, but instead of that, when there is a warning or error, then the corresponding message is being shown, displayed here. So if you still want to view the Java doc, you can press Control Shift, and then you can hover on this, so you will be able to see the Java doc on that identifier even when there is a warning message or error message present on that. Or you can use the Java doc view, just place your caret on that particular element and you can see the Java doc in the Java doc view. So similar to Java doc, if you want to see the source code of any particular element, place the caret and press Shift and hover on that. So in the hover you can see the source code as well, and for the source code you can use the declaration view also, which shows you the same source code in a separate view. Okay, now notice that here when I hover on this warning icon, I get the message that there are multiple markers which are present at this line, but the corresponding icons for these markers are being overlapped, and hence these are not clearly visible. So for that you can go to the window preferences. Under Java editor hovers, you have this checkbox, just select that. It says expand vertical ruler icons when you hover on that, and it also mentions that it does not affect the open editors. So when I click OK, I'll have to close and then I will have to reopen this particular editor. Now you see when I hover on this, all these icons are expanded in the vertical ruler, and if I hover on a particular icon, it gives me the information about that icon, and it also highlights the text in the editor to which this marker is applicable. For example, this was a this is a breakpoint, and this is a breakpoint, this is the implements marker, this is a marker which represents a warning, and this is the to-do marker. Okay, and now the next one is about the externalized strings. So we all work with externalized strings in our products, and these are present as key value pairs in the properties file. So for example, if you want to find out the location where a particular string is being used in your source code, you can just press Control and click on the key in the properties file, and it will list you all the locations where this particular key is being used in the source code, and then you can choose that location and you can easily navigate to the referencing code. The next is about the bookmarks. Say while working in Eclipse, sometimes you find a particular code which is quite important, or you may want to modify it later on, and you want to refer to this code later. So you can just simply bookmark that code in Eclipse. So right click on the left ruler, and you have the option add bookmark. You can give a name to your bookmark, and you see this bookmark marker which will be shown on the left ruler. and we have a bookmarks view where you can view and you can just double click and navigate to all the bookmarks which you have in your workspace. Here you can also delete and you can edit your bookmarks as per your requirement. Now moving on to some coding tips. For that, when you are coding, sometimes you may need to determine when a particular piece of code or when a particular line of code was modified and who had done the modification. So for that you can use the show annotations action. So just right click on the ruler and you have this show annotations action. When you click on the show annotation action, it retrieves all the details from the commit history and it shows it in terms of the annotations. So this will be applicable when you have installed egit, for example, in your Eclipse IDE. So these are the annotations, and once you have them, just you can right click under revisions. You can choose to show the author or the ID, or you can choose to show both. You can use the combined coloring like I have done here, or you can choose to color by date or by author. So a darker color represents a more recent commit, and using this hide revision information, you can hide these annotations. And also when you hover on a particular annotation, you will get to see more details about that commit, like what were the changes in that, and you can, using these links, you can open that commit in the commit viewer, or you can also show that commit into the history view. So this will be really useful to determine when a line of code was modified and who had done the modification. Now going on to the next one, which is the block selection mode. So the block selection mode is something which is very useful when you want to edit a large number of almost identical lines at the same time. Like I have all these lines which are almost identical, and here I have this button which can be used to toggle the block selection mode, and the shortcut for that is Alt Shift A. So let me enable this block selection mode, and now I will select a block of code. You can see that I can easily modify the code with the help of block selection mode when there are lines which are almost identical and I just want to edit all of them at the same time. Now we all know the content assist feature which is provided by Eclipse, which is invoked by pressing Control space. So for that, let's consider this example where I have this string buffer. Say I want to change the string buffer to string builder or something else, and when I press Control space after string, here I get the option of string builder. So the default behavior of Eclipse is that it will insert the selected proposal after the current caret location. So when I press enter, this is how the string builder is inserted. Now going back to the same state, when you are in the content assist dialog, if you want the rest of the string to be overwritten, you can just press Control and you can see that the rest of the string is being highlighted, and this is the part which will be overwritten by the proposal that you are going to select. So now when I press enter, you can see that instead of inserting the proposal, it has overwritten the proposal, overwritten the identifier. If you want to change this default behavior of Eclipse from always inserting, and if you want to make it to always overwrite, you can go to the preferences. Here in editor content assist, you can choose completion overwrites instead of the completion insert, and if you want to keep the default behavior same, but while you are using, you can use the control key to toggle this behavior. Okay, so the next feature which is presented along with content assist is the templates feature, so templates are a very quick and easy way to insert some common boilerplate code in your editor. So just to show you some examples, I will use some of the templates, like this is the main template, then this is the for each template. Yeah. Okay, this is the for each template, and if I have some string here, I can just select that and press Control space and say I want to use the sysout template. It will wrap it into the sysout statement. Like these, there are a lot of other templates also which are provided by Eclipse. You can go to the templates view, and here you can see all the templates which are provided by Eclipse. You can edit these templates according to your requirement by clicking on this edit template button, and you can also capture your own piece of code which you use very frequently, and you can create your own new template. And if you go to the preferences, the template preferences, here you have the option of even exporting these templates and importing into a different workspace. Now the next one is about the formatter on-off tags. So this is useful when you want to prevent the formatting of certain piece of code. Say here I have this query string and I don't want it to be formatted, because when I format it just brings it into a straight line, and I don't want that. So for that, go to the formatter preferences, and in the formatter profile, if you go to the last tab, which is the off on tags tab, you can enable these tags, and these tags can be used in any command to turn the formatter off and on. These are the default ones which are provided by Eclipse, but you can also change these tags according to your requirement. So when I enable this, now you can see that I have used these tags in the comments before and after this query string, and now I am pressing Ctrl+Shift+F. So you can see that the code before and after the query has been formatted, but the code which you have put between these tags has not been formatted. Now let's see some of the debugging tips. So the first one is the smart step into selection. So this is useful when you have a series of method calls, like nested or chain method calls, and while debugging, if you want to step into only a particular single method somewhere in between. So consider this example, and now when I am debugging this example, so when the breakpoint is hit, say I want to directly step into the substring method and I don't want to go into the value of method before that. So you can either, you can just place your caret at that particular method, then you can press Ctrl F5, or you can press Ctrl Alt and just click on that. So as you can see, it will directly take me into that particular method, and I will not have to go step into each and every method in that series of method calls. Similarly, you can also filter out certain types and packages while you are stepping into the code during debugging, because most of the time when we debug, we are interested into stepping into the source code of our own files instead of the inbuilt classes like the string and array list methods and so on. So for that, Eclipse already provides a list of filters which you can enhance. So just go to the step filtering preferences. Here you have to enable this checkbox to use the step filters first, and this is the list which is provided by Eclipse already. You can choose whatever you want to skip from these. You can add your own filters, you can add your classes and packages that you want to filter, and you can see there are many other options like to filter the simple getters, setters, constructors, the initializers and the synthetic methods and so on. So based on these, whatever you want to skip, you can even add your own filters. And now when I enable that, and in this example, let me try to debug this. So here these are the methods from the string class, but I have chosen to skip these. So when I press F5 to step into, you can see that it directly has taken me to the print method, which is my own implementation. Now coming to the breakpoints, so you must be aware of the different types of breakpoints which are provided by Eclipse, and if you want to group these breakpoints in a better way, you can go to the breakpoints view. In the view menu, you have this group by option. You can group these breakpoints based on the breakpoint types like the exception breakpoint or the watch point, and the class load breakpoints, method breakpoints and so on. You can also group these based on the files or based on the projects which you have. You can group them based on the resource working sets. So these are the working sets which we usually create in the package explorer to group the projects. And you can also create your own working sets for the breakpoints. So for example, I am working on a particular bug, say some bug 1, 2, 3, and I can group all the breakpoints which are related to this particular bug into a single working set. So when I say group by breakpoint working sets, so you can see that I have a separate working set for the bug on which I am working. You can enable and disable all these breakpoints at the same time. And when you right click in the breakpoints view, you can see you also have this option to import and export the breakpoints, so that you can share your breakpoints between different workspaces if you want. Now next I would like to introduce you to something called as print point. So a print point is not a breakpoint, it is just a point. A print point is a point in the code where the debugger does not break the execution, but it only prints to the console. So this is useful when you are debugging race conditions, or say you want to see the order of execution of different threads. So a print point is like a replacement for the sysout or the print statements which we usually add while we are debugging. So it's very similar to a breakpoint. Just add a normal breakpoint with the suspend when true option selected, and make it a conditional breakpoint, and your condition should be such that the last statement in the condition should always return false, and you can add all your print statements before that. So now since this condition is always false, the debugger will never break the execution at this breakpoint, but while evaluating this condition, all your print statements will be executed and you will get the result on the console. So here I'll just debug this example, and you can see that the debugger did not break the execution anywhere, and you also have the result on your console directly. Now moving on to some tips for the Java 8 development. So to begin with the Java 8 development in your workspace, in your Eclipse IDE, first thing you need is a project which is a Java 8 compatible project. So for that you can use any old project, like I'm using a Java 7 project. Just paste some construct which is a Java 8 construct into your code, like I have added a default method in this interface. And when you hover on this, you can see that the error is telling me that default methods are allowed only at a source level 1.8 or above. And we have this quick fix, which if you use that quick fix, it will just change the compiler's compliance level and the JRE for this particular project, and your old project will be converted to a Java 8 project. Now that we have a Java 8 project, we'll see the different quick assists which are provided by Eclipse for efficient coding in Java 8. So let's begin with a simple example of how you can sort a list of strings. So before Java 8, you would have often seen yourself creating these anonymous comparator classes and passing them to the sort method. But in Java 8, we know that this anonymous class can be converted to a lambda expression. So just press Ctrl 1 and you have this quick assist which can convert it into a lambda expression directly. And say you have already you're already having a lambda expression, you can press Ctrl 1 and you also have a quick assist which will convert it back to an anonymous class. Now going back to the lambda expression, so here on the left of this arrow, you can see that the lambda parameters do not have a type, that is the type is skipped. So for readability purpose, if you want to add the type, you can use this quick assist to add inferred lambda parameter types, and it will add the types for you. Now on the right side, you can see that the body of the lambda expression is in the concise expression form. If you want to convert it into the block form, maybe you want to add some more code, you can use the quick assist and it will be converted to the block form. Even here the reverse is true, that is reverse is possible, that is you can convert a block body to an expression body by using the quick assist. And now in this example, as you can see that A and B are the parameters which are being directly, as it is used to invoke a named method in the body of the lambda expression. So in Java 8 we know that such a lambda expression can be further simplified by converting it into a method reference. So just press Ctrl 1 and you have this quick assist which can convert a lambda expression into a method reference. And say you already have a method reference and you want to convert it into a lambda expression, we have a quick assist which is provided for that as well. And this functionality to convert between lambda and anonymous classes has also been provided as a cleanup. So you can go to the cleanup profile of any project and you can do it as a bulk operation. Now we have seen these different types of lambda expressions and method references, and this new syntax is actually nice, but it may not be very intuitive while you are writing the programs in Java 8. So even for these simple examples, for example, it's simple lambda and method references, it is difficult to tell about the functional method which is being implemented here. So this is where Eclipse helps you in being more productive while you are using the Java 8 programs in Eclipse. If you want to see the functional method which is being implemented by a lambda expression, just hover on the arrow and you will be able to see in the hover that it is the compare method in this example which is being implemented. And for the method reference, you can just hover on the method reference operator and you can see the functional method in the hover. You can also navigate to that functional method by just pressing Ctrl and clicking on the arrow, and similarly for the method reference, Ctrl and click on the method reference operator. Then another feature for the method references is about the search. So if you want to do a fine-grained search for only the method references in your code, then in the Java search page of the search dialog, you can search for method or constructor references, and then you can limit the match locations to match only the method references. And now here I have given a search string as ignore, and when I do the search, you can see that only these three method references are reported into the search results. So though I had another method which had the search string ignore in the name of the method, but it has not been reported. So this is how you can do a fine-grained search for just the method references. And we also know that Java 8 has added interface methods, a new interface, default and static interface methods. So for that, let me go to the comparator interface. Yeah, so in order to identify these different types of interface methods quickly, we have added some new icon adornments. So here you can see this A represents the abstract method, D is the default, and S is for the static method. So these adornments will also be available at other places in the UI, so that you can quickly identify the type of the interface method that you are working with. So yeah, that's all about the Java 8 tips and tricks. Now talking about the keyboard shortcuts. So one of the easiest way to work faster or to be more productive is to reduce the number of times you move your hand between the keyboard and the mouse, and for that Eclipse provides a lot of keyboard shortcuts. If you want to see a list of all the keyboard shortcuts, you can press Ctrl Shift L and it will show you the list of all the keyboard shortcuts which are available in that context. If you press Ctrl Shift L twice, I mean once again, if you press it, you will be taken to the keys preferences page, and here you can not only see these key bindings, but you can also modify these based on your own style. You can change these shortcuts, and there are a lot of other commands which do not have a predefined keyboard shortcut. You can also assign that shortcut through this preference page. So before showing you some of these shortcuts, I'll just show you two other spies, which are the plugin spies. So many times when you're using Eclipse, you may want to know how a particular UI element was implemented in Eclipse or in your IDE. So just select, place the focus on that particular element. Say I want to know the implementation details of Package Explorer. So press Alt Shift F1. And this is the plugin selection spy pop-up, which will give you all the details about the implementation of this UI element. You can see that the contributing plugin is JDT UI and the class is Package Explorer part. If you have the source and you click on this link, it will also open that particular class for you, and you can see how this particular thing was implemented in Eclipse. So similarly for the menu items, you have Alt Shift F2. So when you press Alt Shift F2, you can see that the cursor has changed. You can now go and click on any menu item, and you will get the information from the plugin menu spy about that particular menu item. Yeah, now I can show you some of these shortcuts which I use mostly. So Alt up and down is to move the lines up and down. Just select one or two lines, whatever number of lines, and you can use Alt up and down to move the lines up and down. Then you have Control Alt up and down, using which you can copy the lines before or after the current line, and you have Control D, using which you can delete any line. Then control /, using that you can comment or uncomment a single line in the code. And then we have this Alt-Shift-Up. So when I press Alt-Shift-Up, it expands the selection to the enclosing element, and when I press Alt-Shift-Down, it brings back the selection back by one element. So this is a really efficient way of selecting a particular element. Instead of using the mouse caret and dragging it to make the selection, you can just use Alt-Shift-Up or Alt-Shift-Down. The next one is Control-Shift-Up and Down. So this can be takes you to the previous or the next member in the file, and it can be used to traverse through the different members of the file which are present. And then we have Control-Shift-P, which takes you to the matching bracket. So just press Control-Shift-P and it will take you to the matching bracket. So for example, if you have a long method or some long block and you want to jump to the matching bracket, you can use Control-Shift-P, and it works with all types of brackets like the parenthesis, the braces, the angle brackets, square brackets, and basically all types of matching brackets can be found with this. Then the next one is quite useful because usually when we are editing, we make some change and then we navigate to some other location, maybe to refer to some other code. And in that case, if you want to go back to the location where you were actually doing the edit, just press Ctrl-Q and it will bring you back to the last edit location. Then we have Ctrl-M, which is used to maximize and minimize any editor or view. And we have Control Page Up, Page and Control Page Down, which you can use to sequentially move from one editor to the other. Then the next one is Control E, which gives you a list of all the open editors. And when you have like lots of editors which are open at the same time, you can press Control E and you can even filter this from here. Using this Control E list, and you can filter it and you can navigate to the editor that you want to. Another thing here is like when you are in this list and you have selected a particular editor, you can also press the delete key directly and it will close that editor for you. So that's about the quickly switch. You can quickly switch the editors. And yeah, like these, there are a lot of other tips and tricks and shortcuts which are provided by Eclipse, and you can learn all of these, I mean, just right from your Eclipse IDE itself. So you can go to help and click on tips and tricks. So you have these documents, tips and tricks documents for JDT, platform, PD and other components. You can go through these documents, and if you go to help and go to the welcome screen, so here you also have this what's new section, which will tell you what is new in different components in this particular Eclipse release. And you can also keep yourself updated with the new and noteworthy items from the milestones of the upcoming Eclipse release by going to the new and noteworthy, the news URL. So that's all I wanted to share, and I'll appreciate any feedback. So you can log into the EclipseCon website and provide the feedback. If you have any questions, you can ask me now. Okay, so thank you.